Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Boomer High session. Happy to have you here. Now, I do have a little bit of a plan for you today, and I'll take you through all of that. Patrick is okay. Sue's asking me, Sue, it would probably be just a little bit of time delay in getting started. I don't know if I'm bright enough here. I guess I am, huh? Okay, let me know when you can see me, Sue. If you can't in 5 minutes, then we have a problem. Otherwise, we should be up and running. Okay, I'll keep chatting as though we are. Ah, there we go. Okay. Okay, I thought I muted that out. All right, excellent. I've got you open in, right. I've got you. Patrick and myself were kind of messing around in the back office 5 minutes ago, making sure we had the right videos around, etc. And I'm just making sure I'm in the right place. We're good. Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. Okay, and there we are. All right. Yes, I am going to continue today with the theme that Patrick spoke on last week, the whole thing of getting restarted, etc. And it's not so much the restarting that I'm going to be talking about today. What I want to talk about in particular is how to market so that you are marketing for retention. All right. The online marketer, in fact, any kind of job or market or opportunity, one of the biggest problems that people have is the attrition rate. Where you're working really hard, you're bringing in people, they're joining you, but then they cancel and they bomb out. Okay, so that's something I want to talk with you today. But before we get started into business, let me just ask, how are you? Are you well? I don't know about what it is like where you are, but I can tell you that here it is wet, it is freezing cold, I haven't seen the sun in I don't know how many days. And the worst of all, you can see what the weather's doing to my hair. It's like frizz central here today, I'm afraid. And this is the best I could get it to look. So my apologies, but what you see is what you get here, okay? So yeah, it's just some horrendous weather. And I must say, I am just so grateful. The more I think about it, the more grateful I am that I started this business, with a view to all of this, all those traffic jams and office politics and all that kind of stuff that I absolutely hated, having to drag myself out of bed at the crack of dawn in order to get ready, to get to work on time, and all of that. Just so glad I did that, because I don't have to worry about it. I lie in my warm bed, all tucked up, nice and cozy, listening to my neighbors getting into their cars and revving and revving and revving, warming them up before they can set out on their journey. And it is not something I miss. Okay, so if you're here for the first time, and you're just here looking at possibilities, then trust me, it is a brave thing because it does involve work, it does involve educating yourself, etc. But the end results, if you apply yourself, is absolutely fantastic. And if you're here, you've been here before and you're here again, welcome back. Good to have you here. I always feel like I'm walking into a room full of friends when I see the names online. So thank you for being here. Real pleasure. And I hope to be able to give you some value today to just point you in the right direction. Okay. All right. So, yeah, so let's talk about this whole thing of not just recruiting. And a lot of times we seem to focus on the recruiting, getting new people to join us, getting new people to join us. And yes, that's absolutely crucial, right? But we do know that there are many, many ways of doing that. There are free ways, there are paid ways. It's just advertising. Whatever business you thought of building up, etc., you would need to advertise in order to see that business grow. Now, the best way to do that is, well, the way I did it was initially I was still working, I was in a full-time job. I could only, work about, I used to do about 3 or 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours when I got home. And the way that worked for me was, I'm here in the United Kingdom, as you know, and I made a specific decision to market into the US. All right. It is a decision I have never regretted. I love working with folk in the US. They kind of get it a lot more, whereas here in the UK, we tend to be a lot more reserved, a lot more suspicious about the home business industry, because it hasn't, well, it has caught on here, very much so, but it's something that's pretty recent. Okay, relatively recent, let me put it that way. Right. So I loved working with, you guys in the US, but the practical reason of why I chose that was because you're 5 hours behind us in Eastern time zone. It's actually 8 hours behind in Pacific time zone. It gave me all those extra hours to be able to talk with you. So I would come home, and after the family were in bed, and I finished everything that requires being done with the family, or dinner, and make sure the children had done their homework, etc. My kids were pretty old at that time, but they were still in school, and making sure that all of that had happened before I actually got on with stuff was brilliant, because they'd be in bed and I'd be online learning, listening to webinars, taking notes, talking to potential business partners, etc. And it was, as I say, I absolutely loved it. But one of the things that is a sad fact of the industry that we're in is that so often people have a really bad idea about it. They have a bad feeling about it. And very often it's actually well deserved, in that a lot of programs come and go with alarming regularity. I'm sure you'll agree with that. I'm just going to pop over here and just make sure that, okay, let me just see here. It looks like, yeah. Hi, Cynthia. Good to see you here. Oh, Patrick's here as well. Good, good, good. Excellent. All right. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, excellent. All right. So always good to know that it's all going okay. All right. So yeah. So what I was saying is, we sort of focus on the recruiting side of things, and that's good. But one of the main reasons why there is such a huge cancellation rate, if you like, which is so sad, really, is the fact that so often our message, the message that we're giving out, is incorrect, right? And what do I mean by that? Give me 2 seconds. Right. Here's the thing, right? I remember when I first was looking to get online, I was looking at people, I was just kind of browsing through, looking at what was available, who was available, and all that kind of thing. And at that time, I didn't know anything about Teams, etc. But one of the things I realized was that the people I was watching, the people who were advertising themselves on video in their blogs or whatever they were doing, a lot of times they used a method that we see frequently today, where they're showing off, big cars and big houses and all that kind of thing. Okay. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with having the big cars and the big houses and all of that. But my thought pattern was this. Okay. All right. If they are having to use their big houses and their big cars to impress me to join them, what am I going to do? I'm just a normal person. I'm just a normal, everyday person. How am I going to attract people to join me if this is what the norm is? All right. And very quickly, I realized that what I needed to do was to find somebody who was teaching me, who had my well-being at heart. And that was what I looked for, somebody who could provide me with the information that I needed. Right. And unfortunately, you will find today that there are still marketers who will market with, look at me, I've got 5 Lamborghinis, come and join me because I can teach you to get 5 Lamborghinis too. All right, I'm not interested in Lamborghinis. And unfortunately, you see what happens is people join, right? They get very attracted by this. Right, they sometimes don't think ahead, and I'll be honest, why should they think ahead? I was in sales already, so I knew to think ahead. But somebody who's brand new looking at this will think, wow, he obviously knows what he's doing, or she knows what she's doing. I want to join her so she can teach me, how to have all these wonderful things, right? No problems at all with that. However, what happens is they join and then they find the struggle. Okay, they realize that this is not a magic pill. It's not like Jack and the Beanstalk, a handful of magic beans which they sow and overnight they've got this massive income. Then they get very disillusioned naturally. Then they get very angry naturally. And then they get discouraged and then they bomb out. Okay. Now, to me, that is such a waste of effort and potential. Okay. Both my potential and the potential for that person who joined me and then, had to bomb out. But my marketing message is very, very different, right? My marketing message is what value, and that's why I love this community we work in. It's all about value. Okay, what value can you provide? And it works in the other way as well, in that if you're a brand new marketer and you don't have a big track record or a big income that you can use as your testimonial, that's not a problem at all. What you need to do is provide the value and let the person know that you are there for them and you are there to provide the value. Okay, that way you'll actually get a person who's more interested and in the business side of things, who's actually interested in learning, who wants to learn more, who realizes that it is a business to grow, etc. Okay, now, yes, it's a slower way of building your business, but oh my goodness, is it a more powerful way of doing so? All right. And which is why you get people, you look at, I always observe people, right? I'm a real people watcher. And even among the leaders that we have in the communities that we work in, I watch how they market. And you'll see the ones that have a long-term, you can see them, growing steadily. They are the ones who offer value on a regular basis. They're there for people, and that kind of thing. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. What you want to do in addition to becoming a recruiting machine is become somebody who is growing a long-term successful business by providing that value to your people, where you also create the retention factor. And that is just good business sense. It means you're spending your money advertising, people are joining you, and now they're staying, rather than joining and vanishing. Okay, there will always be, don't get me wrong, there will always be some retention. Because sadly, many people join and you can tell them, as you can talk to them till you're blue in the face and say to them, listen, this is a business, okay? You've got to learn what it takes. You've got your training videos. Go watch that. Go watch this. And they'll say yes to everything. Go and join. They won't do a single thing and they'll call you back and tell you you're a scam. Okay, I have to work. I can't do this. This is too hard. And you get all of that. And sadly, that is the case. And you will always get some people who are wanting unrealistic things. Okay, but how can you ensure I've got my little notepad. Actually, it's a massive, great big notepad. I treated myself today. I take so many notes when I'm listening to anything or anybody that I'm forever running out of notepads. So I dropped into a local shop and bought a whole stack of them. So I'm well and truly stocked up now to do more learning as we go on. So how do you create that retention? Okay, and please do feel free if you have any questions at all to ask those. Okay, and I'll come in there later on. And Sue's doing her brilliant job of moderating as usual. So if there's anything that Sue can answer, and she's hugely experienced, she will get answered. If it's anything particularly for me to talk with about, rather, I'll come in and check it in a minute. All right. So how do you focus in on building that long-term relationship? Okay, number one, it starts with your marketing message. What are you saying? Okay, you know, Patrick and myself always talk about the market to message match. In other words, don't bait and switch. Yeah, you know, it's pointless saying to them or to anybody for that matter, in a general term, say, you know, okay, I'm selling cakes. I don't know why I've got cakes on my mind. It's dreadful. You know, I'm selling cakes, and then people come to your shop and they discover actually you're selling football boots. You know, they're not going to be terribly impressed. At any rate, I know I wouldn't be, right? So what you start off with is your market to message match. Okay. So once you've got that right, yeah, you visualize one single person in your brain. You create your avatar, right? Your ideal avatar of the person you want to work with. You then market to that person, and every now and again you can go off and do a more general message, but primarily you need to be marketing to that particular market, that particular niche, and you can always have maybe one or two other niches on the side that you also market to. All right, but focus on the one, right? So when you're talking with them, talk to their problems, right? And usually the best thing in the world is to identify a group of people who you have something in common with, or who you know something about, right? For me, for example, I always market to the mature professional. All right. I saw a lovely lady on Facebook the other day. She has, oh, I forget what it's called, but it's the skills where she can live, you know, translate. She can put closed captions to anything that's going on. So she's absolutely brilliant for the deaf community. All right. So that's something that she knows their pain and she's able to offer a solution. So she's perfectly positioned herself. You might be a young mum, you know, or you might know the problems a young mum has, or you might be a gentleman who knows what a retired gentleman is faced with, you know, the boredom, the feeling of needing something to get your teeth into, kind of thing, you know. So identify your avatar and then address that person's pains with your solution. Okay. So that's your first thing. The second thing is, don't be confusing. In other words, be very, very clear about, just 1 second, please. I've got to, okay. Right. So be very, very clear about your marketing message. Okay. Don't, you know, I see so many marketers that do this, where they market different things to their list, and it's okay to market tools. So obviously, if you're an online marketer and you have an affiliate link for your autoresponder account or any other tools you're using that actually will make their life easier, then that's fine. You know, market that to them, because the chances are that on your list you will have people who are already marketers, so they're not interested in another program. But if you have a good tool to offer, by all means, you know, offer them that. Okay, so that's definitely a to-do. A don't-do is the thing of offering them different programs. So every single day or every time you hear about the next best shiny thing, offering that to them. people are going to get confused, people are not going to grasp what you're doing, and they will eventually lose interest and respect, for a marketer who does that kind of thing. I know I do. I see sometimes some big marketers who suddenly go off at a tangent, and every couple of months they are promoting something else. To me, that is, if I wouldn't do that, because I personally, I think I would be disrespecting my list by doing that. We're here to offer value. We're here to help people up, to solve their problems, to help them get out of the situations that they perhaps are in. That's why they're looking for another business. That's why they're looking to create income. To just look to kind of line our own pockets all the time is not a good thing, right? So don't confuse them. Okay, you'll be a lot better off just focusing in on one or two things, and market the tools as well. Okay, inspire them. All right, always in your mail and in your emails and in your videos, etc., be inspirational. This is why it's so important for you to be educating yourself, for you to be plugging into things. But most of you all who I know are on this call, you are brilliant. So all kudos to you and all respect to you, really. You'll do a brilliant job already, so that's great. But that's the thing, right? Inspire people into doing what they need to be doing, right? Plug them into a simple system. Patrick spoke about this last week. The systems that we have are so simple. You don't need to set up funnels. You don't need to set up websites. Yes, blogging is great and everybody should be doing that. But, the blog that we use, the blogging platform that we use is so simple that it really is a no-brainer kind of thing. Once you've got over that initial learning hump, it's easy peasy, right? So, plug them into a simple system that does what it says, so that's a good thing. Be a leader. Okay, when you take people on, when people join you, or when people buy things from you, there's a fine line between, how can I put this without, okay, there's a fine line between doing everything for them and teaching them to be independent themselves. Okay, and you've got to walk that fine line, right? I'm not recommending that you do everything and you become a slave to your downline. By no means at all. A leader leads by being out in front, doing what it takes to do so that the others can follow. All right. And I think Dave Wood did a video about this, and I know he always speaks about this. And whenever he speaks about it, I always think, gosh, that makes so much sense, But if you are not leading from the front, you can, as an inexperienced marketer, it's very, very easy to get tangled up in, once you've marketed and you've become successful and you've got a whole lot of people in your team, it's very easy for you to switch from marketing mode into management mode. And I did exactly that very early on in my career and paid the price. Okay, every time I take my eye off the marketing end of things, my figures plummet. Okay, and it's a lesson I've learned, and it's standing me in good stead now. Okay, it wasn't such a nice lesson at the time I learned it, but as long as you learn the lesson of the mistakes you make, it's fine, right? So I'm not suggesting you become a manager or a motivator. If that should all be part of your role, but your role is to be a leader. Okay, to be out there in front of them, lead them, etc. And part of that would be keeping them informed. Communication is very, very important. I worked as an iPass coach, and the coach manager, the lovely gentleman by the name of Anthony Williams. And Anthony would always talk about this. He was an ex-Marine. Right. And he'd always talk about this exercise that they do as Marines, where the whole group of them had to scale a steep cliff or something of that sort. Now, they wouldn't all try and do it. One person who was experienced would do that, and he'd get to the top of that cliff, then he'd anchor a point in there, right? And Anthony uses all the technical terms. I'm just a girl. What do I know about Marines, Or at least what do I know about what they do in that respect? So they'd get to the top, anchor this rope there, and then they'd throw the rope down. And the rope had knots in it at frequent intervals so that each person from below could easily pull themselves up. That's the kind of role you're trying to play. Okay, so give your people leadership, so that you're out in front all the time, and then throw down this rope with things which make it easy for them to climb this, sheer learning curve kind of thing. And the things that I'll read them out here because I listed them for you before we think. Just to keep the lines of communication open, create a list for them in your autoresponder. Okay, so what I do is every time I send a broadcast out, I will also email my members, because there's a specific list there. So I can just select that list for them and say, this is a broadcast message I'm sending out. So they can then adapt it for themselves and resend it on. Right, so things like that. So create a list for them and keep them informed. If there's a webinar, or if there's a good training that I spot, or a piece of good information on Facebook or wherever else kind of thing, I will always make sure to share that with them. Right. So to that end, it's also a good thing to create a Facebook group so that you can interact with them. And here's the thing, right? You might say, well, my sponsor has that. That's entirely up to you. If you want them to be part of your sponsors group, by all means, okay, no problems at all. But trust me, they will see your sponsor as their leader and not you. Okay? If you're happy with that, no problem. All right. But as a marketer, you might want to kind of consider, who do you want to be the leader in this role, right? And then step up to the plate and do what it takes. All right. So create a list for them, keep them informed through that, create a Facebook group, interact with them through that. It's brilliant for building relationship as well. And really, that is the case. You want to build a relationship with your team so that you can then, help them grow and help them mature into what they want to attain. And it's brilliant in that respect. Plug them into the community, the events. Make sure you're going to the events if at all possible. And I'll be very gentle with this here because I haven't managed to go to an event as yet, but I will be in Nashville. So, plug them into those kind of things. Make sure that right from the word go, you're making sure that they go to events. I mean, we meet up here, for example, in March. We have an event here in the UK, which I'll be attending, and a lot of my team will be attending. So we tend to do that. But I do desperately want to get into, one of the major events, right? So plug them into the community, plug them into events, plug them into webinars, hangouts, and always, and this is a secret I want to share with you, right? And again, I want to say this tactfully, but being me, I just have to say it the way it is. If you are, it is so important for each one of us to have that loyalty and to make sure that when we are talking about our leaders and when we're talking about other teams, etc., we don't bash anybody. Right. It's really, really important that we learn to work in an atmosphere of mutual respect, because that is what builds you up. That's what will build your team up. That's what will cause the retention. That just builds a lovely, solid atmosphere where everybody is working together, and that it's a win-win-win situation. All right. So those are the kind of things that, you need to look to cultivate. That's the kind of atmosphere and that's the kind of culture you want to cultivate that will give you that long-term goal as well. All right. Now, I know it's been very brief today. I'm coming across here to see if you have any Questions or any comments? Where are you gone to? Okay, here we are. All right. Thank you, Sue. Sue is so brilliant at doing this. Yeah, don't become a babysitter. Exactly. Exactly. Sue, this is so funny. Give your people a knotted rope. Can you imagine anybody who doesn't know what context that was said in? They'd be wondering what in the world is going on there. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree. It's all about value. Thank you, Sue. Okay, excellent. Good, good, good. Any questions, anybody? Any comments? Is there anything else that perhaps we're not talking about? Maybe you're thinking, okay, Marion, that's all very well, but what about this? That's fine. Ask the question, we'll get it answered. Okay. That's one of, we keep saying this on every webinar as well. We want you to be able to tell us what you'd like to hear Patrick and myself talk about, because that's the kind of thing we'll bring to you. Okay, we love doing these webinars, but one of the most challenging things, if you like, is trying to work out what to bring to you. There's just so much. We don't want to overwhelm anybody. We want to keep this a place where we keep it simple, and also we want to keep this a place where we're building sort of long-term goals kind of thing. But at the same time, we do want to help you and to be relevant to you, etc. So any questions at all, please do ask. Sue has this talent for capturing the thought in a few words. Well done, Sue. All right, everyone. So what I would ask you to do is, on a practical level, right, there are things that you should be doing on a daily basis, right, to help your business grow. Now, if you didn't actually see this, I've got it up here, and it's actually something that I'm going to watch straight after this. Let me see if I can. You probably know you won't be able to see my screen, will you? Let me see if I can do that for you. Give me 2 seconds. Find you again here. It's always great fun. Okay, here we go. So let me share my screen with you, and I'll show you. Okay, it's not giving me that option at all, which is... Yeah, no, it's not giving me that option, I'm afraid. So I won't be able to show you it, but it was a webinar that Mike Hobbs did, and he advertised it yesterday. Oh, here it is. Okay, give me 2 seconds. There we go. Okay, we should be... There we go. Okay, so this is somebody I follow, a lot. Okay, I call myself his Facebook stalker, bless him, because this guy gives such value, right? And yesterday he did this daily action plan they don't want you to know about. He's great with his titles. Now, if you haven't seen it, go over to his Facebook page, and he's got a link up there, right? And that's what I'm going to be watching later on. So it's absolutely great, because Mike has this talent for breaking things down to step-by-step processes. He keeps it very simple, but he doesn't kind of pull any punches. In other words, sometimes, even as an experienced person, I look at him and think, oh gosh, Mike, that's a lot, You really want us to be doing that every day. And truthfully, if you were working, if you're in a job, you go to work and you spend 8 hours of your day, of your life, right, working there for somebody else's benefit. All right. So I don't see the problem with working 4-5 hours if necessary to build something that's going to be of value to me and my family. So, if you look at it that way, it'll be absolutely great. But that's something, yeah, go off and have a look at that if you like. And if if you can't find it, let us know, and we'll put a link into either my own Facebook page or the Boomer High page. All right. And then you'll be able to see it there. Okay. Right. Let me go across here again. And if there are no more questions, we'll call this a night. And I hope that's been helpful to you. Okay. I can't see any questions here. So Mike is, I know, Gary, I know exactly what you mean. He is, isn't he? He's a brilliant guy and such a nice guy with it too, bless him. That's it, yeah. And also the other thing that all of us should be doing, and the reason I'm saying should be doing is because I'm not doing it as yet, but that's not because I don't want to do it. That's simply because, my time's currently being taken up with other things. But the daily action plan that comes out of iPath, if you do that every day, you are well on your way to creating a really solid basis for your business. Okay. And that is something your new people, that is something you should be plugging them into. Work with them on that. Maybe, hold team calls and work your way through that each week or something of that sort. But give yourselves a target and set that up and do it accordingly. All right. That will work great. All right. Let me just see here. Yeah, thank you, Sue. You got that. Perfect. Daily action plan replay, pipeline prosperity. Yep, absolutely. That's great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that kind of helped you in a little bit. I know it's a subject that's not kind of immediate in that, I'm not giving you any practical steps, etc. But it is such a valuable message in the sense that I see the mistakes that people make. And I recognize them because I made them too. I didn't ever, yes, we have a gorgeous car, etc. But I never ever used that. I don't drive, you see, so it's not worth me kind of bragging about that. So I never used any of that in my marketing, etc. But as a coach, as a trainer, and that kind of thing, I see those mistakes that people make. And of course, as coaches, we get the other end of things where people will come on board and then they have the wrong idea. And when we see that sponsors marketing, we know where that idea came from. Okay, so well worth getting your message right so that you are giving value, just giving value, giving value. But let me just give you a little tip about giving value as well. Don't give, what's that they say? If you're going to give the milk away free, why buy the cow? Something of that. Or if you're going to give the cow away free, why buy the milk or something? I can never remember punchlines, but you get the message, right? Even with your team, make sure that people realize that the reason the products are there is not just so people have to spend their money or, it's there so that they can actually learn from it. Be very strong about that and say, yes, exactly what you need to know there, it's in the 15K formula. Make sure you buy it. You need that in order to be able to learn from it. Right. So this comes down again to not babysitting people, making sure they know this is a business, they invest into themselves, they invest into the business, and they will reap the rewards. So, yeah, you've got to get that balance right. And I know you want to do it that way. So, yeah, you'll be great. All right. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Pleased to have you here. Sue, thank you for doing such an excellent job here. And I know we've kept it fairly short today, but yeah, it was a brief message just to touch on that and let you know that. and we shall be back next week again. I think Patrick's doing next week on his own, or we could be doing it jointly, but yeah, we'll let you know in due course. All right. Also, just so you know, there is a Boomer High Facebook group. We put the swipe copy in there each week, etc. So if you want to ask for membership there, if you're not already a member, please do that. One of us will approve you, and then you're more in touch there for things as well. Okay, excellent. Okay, let me come over one more time. Keep warm, everybody. I've been watching some of the weather things in some of the areas in the US, and I cannot believe how cold it is. So, definitely well worth keeping indoors and taking care. Gary, you're so welcome. You, of course, in lovely, warm Australia, you have nothing to worry about there. Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. Good to spend time with you. You take care, and we shall see you soon. Bye now.